Hey, what is up guys? My name is Oleg, this is Bond. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel and like the content, please do subscribe so you won't miss any of the upcoming videos. Plus, you'll be joining a community of really awesome people. In today's video, I'm going to do a full review of this watch right here. That's the Richard LeGrand Odyssea Mark II. A really awesome watch, especially for that price. So these watches used to cost $300. Now they are on sale. The black one, the one that I'm going to review, the one that I have, costs $279. Actually, sorry, $269. And they also have the PVD coated version, all black with the black dial, and that version costs $239, which is a deal of a century if you ask me. With that being said, let's get into the review of this Odyssey Mark II. Let's start this review as always by looking at the basic dimensions. We have a diameter of 41 millimeters, a lug to lug width of 48 millimeters, a lug width of 20 millimeters, and the thickness of 14.5 millimeters. Pretty good modern diver watch set of dimensions on this timepiece. Let's take a look at the case and the case finishes. So we have an all stainless steel case with the stainless steel bracelet. We'll come back to the bracelet in a minute or so. Now the finish on the watch is all brushed finish on the sides here as well as on the top. We do have a bit of a bevel on the lugs. It looks great. The finish is done really well. At the 3 o'clock position, we have the crown. The crown is signed with the RL for Richard LeGrand. There are no crown guards, which gives the watch a very cool vintage look. We also have this beautiful dial. The dial is ceramic, and we also have applied indices. We have the Arabic numerals for the 12, the 6, the 3, and the 9. This design of the dial, to me at least, is very reminiscent of the Rolex Explorer. Let me pop a picture on the screen right now. While we're on the subject of the dial, it does have a slight sunburst effect. Here at home, you can't really tell because we're inside, but outdoors it really gives a nice sunburst effect without being too overwhelming. The design of the dial is very simple and minimalistic. We have RL and Richard LeGrand written by the 12 o'clock position. Odyssey, automatic, and 200 meters of water resistance written by the 6 o'clock position, and that's all the writing on the dial. As you notice, there is no date window, so this watch doesn't have a date, and I think that's a benefit to the watch. I found myself wearing this watch a lot more often than other diver watches just because it didn't have the date, so I didn't have to set the date. When I was wearing the watch, I could just put it on the wrist, wind it, and go. I didn't have to set the date. So the watch is powered by the Seiko NH35 movement. We are no strangers to this movement on the channel. I reviewed a bunch of different watches with this very movement. This crown is of course screw down crown with 200 meters of water resistance on the watch, so you would expect a screw down crown. The action on the crown is really good. So we would pull out the crown to the first position, and that's actually the ghost position. What I mean by the ghost position is that there is still a date wheel behind the dial. There's just not a cutout for the date to show, so rotating this crown in this position doesn't really do anything in terms of changes to the watch. However, if we pull it out all the way out, you can see the seconds hand stops ticking because the movement is of course hacking and hand winding. Mine is running very accurately. I'm getting about plus 9 seconds per day, which is kind of in line with other Seiko NH35 movements that I've tested. Flipping the watch to the other side, we have a screw down Caseback. Of course, this is a diver's watch, and we have this very nice engraving at the back. So we kind of have the two anchors and the diver's helmet. The old school diver's helmet is done really well. It feels good when I run my finger through it, so it looks good aesthetically and it feels good. Now let's talk about the bracelet. So the bracelet has all solid links with the solid end links. I like the design of this very first link. I don't like when links protrude past the lugs. This one does not do that, so you can see that this one is an actual kind of hinge here, so it makes the watch fit smaller wrists really well. My 7¼ inch is kind of mid-size, and of course I'll do a wrist shot shortly, but it looks great. It fits wrist really well. It hugs the wrist really well, so I really like this design element. We have push style pins very easy to adjust, and we also have this engineered clasp. However, there is one small negative that I have about this clasp, and it's the fact that it is a bit wobbly. So it's not too bad, but having no lock safe mechanism on top of it makes it a bit wobbly here. So it's not as solid as some of the other watches. It's not too bad. I think it's more of a nitpick here, but it's something that I did notice, that it's not as secure and it does make a bit of a rattling noise. Not too bad again, but it is a bit of a negative. We also have a bunch of micro adjustments here. So we have 4, but there is no diver's extension. Now, something that is important to every diver watch is the bezel and the bezel action. This watch here has a sapphire coated bezel, which is very unique. In fact, this is the very first watch that I'm experiencing with the sapphire bezel. I gotta tell you, it looks really cool. Now, the bezel is lumed, and the lume on the dial and the hands is really good. It holds for a long time. Let me pop a lume shot on the screen right now. Yeah, I love that lume. I love the look of this bezel. It's very simplistic. We don't have the minute markings up to 15 or up to 20 minutes like many other diver watches. Richard LeGrand went for a more simplistic, more minimalistic look, and I really do appreciate it. I think the design of this watch is one of its strongest features. The bezel action is very satisfying, very smooth, easy to turn. I think they nailed this part perfectly. Now, I've been praising this watch and praising the bezel quite a bit in this video, except for the small negative with the clasp. However, there is one more negative that's kind of a bigger negative, at least in my opinion, and that's the fact that the bezel doesn't align properly. You can see that it's slightly off. There's not too much backplay on the bezel, and it is a 90 click bezel, so it's not 120 click bezel, and I think because it is 90 clicks, it doesn't align perfectly. So you can see here it's slightly off, and if I go 1 over, now it's 1 over off. Now that to be honest with you, drives me a bit crazy. I really like when bezels align properly. The suggestion that I would have for you guys, if you are buying one of these watches, is to actually, before you take off all the wrap, before you take off all the plastic from the watch, make sure that your bezel aligns properly. There's one more big positive in my book that I have about this design, and that's the set of hands. I love how long this minute hand is. I love that it reaches all the way to the outer track. It makes telling the time very easy at a simple glance. I also like how this running seconds hand has this kind of an arrow tip here at the top, and it also reaches all the way out to the minute track. Again, makes it very easy to time things, and just aesthetically very pleasing to look at. So what are my final thoughts on the watch? I quite like it. I think this is a great watch, especially for that price. $269, so $270 is a fantastic price for this watch. I mean, the specs that you get, the finishes that you get, the level of quality, it's very, very hard to beat. In fact, this is one of my favorite watches that I tested lately. Of course, it kind of sucks about this misaligned bezel, but other than that, this is an almost perfect watch. Now, they come in a couple of different colors. The blue has sold out a while back. They actually did a release of it for a couple of days through their Instagram, and then that was sold out. But they do have available this black version and the PVD coated all black version. I did a lot of testing with this watch. Actually, I did more testing with this watch than many other watches that I do reviews for. I just had quite a bit of time to spend with it, so I took it to a golf course, I took it to the gym, I took it to the swimming pool, to the hot tub, to hikes, up mountains. Did a whole bunch of different activities with it, and it stood the test of time really well. And finally, here's what the watch looks like on my 7¼ inch wrist. I love how this watch looks on the wrist. It fits like a true 41 millimeters, so it's not wearing larger or smaller. It wears like a 41. I also like that domed sapphire crystal. It is slightly domed with the AR coating. Just a beautiful watch to look at. All right, guys, so that was the review of Richard LeGrand Odyssey Mark II. a pretty great watch, especially for the price of $270. I appreciate you watching until the end. Please leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about this watch, and maybe you already have one in your collection. I did post quite a few different pictures of this Richard LeGrand Mark II on my Instagram in the previous weeks, and I got quite a few different comments from people that actually have this watch in their collections, and they were praising the brand and praising the watch. By the way, today on my wrist I'm wearing my modded Vostok Amphibia. I just did a mod video for this watch. Love how it turned out, and if you haven't seen the video, check it out if you're interested. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.